On a girl's first day at her new school, her period unexpectedly arrived. The students behind her burst into laughter, but the girl had no idea what was going on. At that moment, Jack spoke up to remind her.
You dropped something?
The girl quickly looked down and discovered that blood had already dripped onto the floor. She instantly felt ashamed, immediately stood up to cover herself with her hands, and swiftly left the classroom. This was Annie's first menstrual period. She hid in the bathroom, crying uncontrollably, not knowing how to face her classmates in the future. Fortunately, 3 girls came to the restroom. They brought Annie clean clothes and comforted her, saying that every girl goes through this experience. This brought a bit of warmth to Annie's heart. From that day on, Annie and the girls became good friends. However, Jack clearly didn't want to let her off the hook. The next day, as soon as Annie arrived at school, Jack started mocking her. Furious, Annie pushed him away, and to her surprise, Jack went flying. Annie didn't understand why she had such strength, but her best friend seemed to know something. The two were kept after school for fighting. Suddenly, Annie heard someone calling her name. She thought it was the teacher talking, but the teacher hadn't opened her mouth. Then, the voice appeared again.
If you can hear this, you're fourth. To the bathroom.
To investigate what was going on, she excused herself to the restroom. After getting the teacher's permission, she immediately got up and left the classroom. As soon as Annie stepped out the door, she found her best friend waiting for her outside. Her friend told Annie that they were all descendants of witches, so they could communicate telepathically. Seeing that Annie still didn't believe it, her best friend decided to put her to the test. Along the way, they explained everything to Annie. It turned out that witches could only become more powerful when they gathered 4 companions. It was precisely because Annie had just displayed incredible strength that they believed she was also a descendant of witches. The 4 then went to a nearby forest, took out a treasure chest, sprinkled some unknown powder on the ground to create a makeshift magic circle, and sat at the 4 corners of the east, south, west, and north. They began chanting spells. And at the moment the chanting stopped, the candles suddenly went out. Time seemed to freeze at that instant. With Annie's addition, their latent magical powers were finally awakened. That night, the 4 went to Jack's place, planning to teach him a good lesson.